On January 11, 1992, in Madison, Indiana, 12-year-old Shanda Renee Sharer was brutally tortured and eventually burned alive over the course of one night by 4 jealous classmates. Shanda Sharer was born on June 6, 1979, in Pineville, Kentucky. She had a troubled family life, with her parents divorcing and her mother remarrying. Her family moved to Louisville and later New Albany, Indiana, where she enrolled at Hazelwood Middle School before transferring to a Catholic school. In the early fall semester of 1991, Shanda got into a fight with 14-year-old Amanda Hevron. However, they became friends while in detention and eventually grew close. Hevron's ex-girlfriend, 14-year-old Melinda Lovelace, found out about their friendship and became jealous. Tensions escalated when Lovelace discovered that Hevron had taken Shanda as her date to a school dance. Lovelace confronted Shanda, and the two had an argument. Lovelace began to discuss killing Sharer and threatened her in public after Hevron and Sharer attended a festival together. On the night before the murder, 15-year-old Tony Lawrence, Hope Rippey, also 15, and 17-year-old Lori Tackett drove to Melinda Lovelace's house. Lovelace showed them a knife, stating she intended to scare Sharer. Tackett was already aware of Lovelace's plan to kill Sharer, though the others were unaware. The group drove to Jeffersonville, where Sharer was staying with her father. Lovelace directed Rippey and Lawrence to approach Sharer's house, pretending to be friends of Hevron. They told Sharer that Hevron was waiting to meet her at a place called the Witch's Castle. Initially hesitant, Sharer asked them to return at midnight. They returned to pick her up at midnight, with Lovelace hiding under a blanket in the back seat of the car, holding a knife. When Sharer got into the car, Lovelace sprang out, put the knife to Sharer's throat, and began interrogating her about her relationship with Hevron. The girls drove towards the Witch's Castle. Once inside, they tied up a sobbing Sharer with rope, while Lovelace taunted her, asking how she would look if her hair was cut off. The girls then took Sharer to an abandoned building where Lovelace and Tackett forced her to strip to her underwear. Lovelace beat her and attempted to slash her throat, but the knife was too dull, so she and Tackett took turns stabbing her. They then strangled her and placed her in the trunk of the car, thinking she was dead. After hearing her screams from the trunk, Tackett stabbed her again and beat her with a tire iron, also sexually assaulting her. They drove around, eventually arriving at a gas station, where they filled a bottle with gasoline. They then drove to a desolate location, set the still-alive Sharer on fire, and watched her burn to death. After the murder, they went to a McDonald's for breakfast, making jokes about how Sharer's burned body looked like one of the sausages they were eating. Later in the morning, 2 brothers discovered what they initially thought was a mannequin on the side of the road. Upon closer inspection, they realized it was a burned body. Investigators arrived at the scene, collected evidence, and initially suspected the murder was related to a drug deal, as the body had been posed in a suggestive position, with the face and hands burned in an apparent attempt to make identification difficult. That evening, a distraught Tony Lawrence and Hope Rippey went to the sheriff's office with their parents and confessed. After confirming Shanda's identity using dental records, Lovelace and Tackett were arrested the next day. All 4 girls were charged as adults. To avoid the death penalty, the girls accepted plea bargains. Tackett and Lovelace were sentenced to 60 years in prison, though both were released after serving only 26 years. Rippey received a reduced sentence and was released in 2006 after 14 years. Lawrence, in exchange for her cooperation, was sentenced to 20 years and was released in 2000. Shanda's father, Stephen, devastated by her death, reportedly drank himself to death in 2005.